name is Beverly Berry of Ayers, Berry and Sinclair, and Ayers, Berry and Sinclair is a health consultant firm based out of Birmingham, Alabama. So we plan health promotion programs for different organizations to improve our community and the health of our community. But the reason tonight that we're doing our presentation is we'd like to share with you our program that focuses on the caregivers of patients to Alzheimer's, patients with Alzheimer's disease. We were hired by the UAB Division of Geriatric Medicine to implement this program. And how this program came into fruition is that in working with the patients and the caregivers of UAB Division of Geriatric Medicine, they realized that caregivers needed a little more. They often complained that they were stressed, that they were spread thin, and that there were not a lot of resources for them in regards to Alzheimer's disease. So it made it really difficult for them to provide the best care that they could give to their loved ones. UAB, Division of Geriatric Medicine, they processed all of this information and they realized, you know, hey, we need to do a little something more to focus on our caregivers. At the end of the day, they are the heart of making sure that their patients have the best quality care. And they are going to be the individuals that carry out that health care plan that they provide for their patients. So they decided to hire us on to come in and plan this particular program. And so in planning the program, we established our location on where we were going to actually implement this program. And it was really kind of already set by UAB. So they wanted us to focus in the Birmingham area, and that's what we decided to do. So just a little demographic or background information on Birmingham. Birmingham is the second largest city in the state of Alabama. I'm sorry, it's the first. It's the largest city in Birmingham, correction. According to the United States Census, Birmingham has a population of over 200,000 people. There's 74% African American, 22.3% Caucasian, and 4% Hispanic. The median income for Birmingham natives is a little over $30,000 a year. So it's a good, diverse area to implement this program, which makes it a little more interesting with our findings as we completed the program. We're not, my colleagues and I, we're not from the Birmingham area, so we're not very familiar with the needs, the exact needs of our target audience. And so to help us address the needs of our target audience, we decided to develop a community coalition. And these are individuals who know the community, they are trusted in the community, so when we put this program into play, they're going to be key influencers to help us implement this program. So our community coalition consists of the Alabama Department of Senior Services, Alzheimer's Foundation of Central Alabama, UAB Division of Geriatric Medicine, and the Birmingham City Council, the Yoga Circle, and the Alabama Department of Mental Health. So collectively, these individuals have a great grasp on Alzheimer's disease. They have a grasp on the caregivers, and they really know how to go in and just help us address the needs of this target population. So to further, now that we have our community coalition, now we need to address those needs. We need to find out what's going on and how we can develop a program that would adequately assess those needs. So we conducted a needs assessment, and we did this through our focus groups. We chose focus groups, or we recruited individuals for our focus groups by visiting the various geriatric clinics in the city, as well as support groups to have a group of individuals that can participate in our focus groups. So we had 8 to 12 people that participated, and they shared their concerns. And we were able to provide meals, and we provided them with a $25 gift card for their participation. We processed all of this information, and we found that a lot of them were stressed. They didn't have a lot of resources. And those were some of the things that we needed to kind of look at a little bit more in depth. I'm going to have 2 of my other colleagues that are going to talk more about those predisposing, the enabling factors, the reinforcing factors that were generated from the needs assessment, and how this all came together to produce a program that helped our target population. And so at this time, I will have my colleague to come up and tell you more about those factors as it relates to our program.
Thank you, Beverly. Hello, I am Kimberly Ayers, and I would like to briefly talk to you about the predisposing and enabling factors that we considered when we began to develop our program. And as you know, these factors are very important in the foundation of establishing such a program, because if you ignore these factors, then the success of the program is significantly decreased. So when you consider caregivers and caregiver stress, you have to recognize the things that have contributed to where the caregivers are. Specifically, we reviewed the secondary sources and actually some primary sources, as well as we will get into the focus groups. So regarding caregiver stress, we recognize that there are factors that influence the priority population, which is the caregivers of individuals with Alzheimer's disease. So when we talk about the factors of knowledge, attitudes, and beliefs, we talk about why and how people caring for individuals who are suffering with Alzheimer's disease have an increased amount of stress and injuries and illnesses related to the stress. These factors are relevant as we move forward with establishing a program, so we had to figure out what things were contributing to them. So the underlying factors are relevant and must be explored prior to developing the plan, and we understood that, therefore we moved forward with that. So when we talk about knowledge deficit, we talk about a group of individuals. As we did our research, we learned that increased awareness for individuals caring for people with Alzheimer's disease, we wanted to help them to understand how stressful this is actually. Many people did not recognize that, and as a result didn't seek the help that they needed because they didn't see that they were stressed. That was one thing that we set out to do, was increase awareness of the level of stress that they were actually experiencing. It may not make any sense, or sound like it makes sense. That person doesn't know they're stressed, but there are people that don't know that they're stressed. So that was one of our aims. Secondly, we had to look at the cultural factors that were involved, understanding that some individuals believe it is their obligation to care for their loved ones, regardless of the disease or disorder, and their ability to take care of them. So understanding that this belief is embedded in individuals is relevant as well. Some have familial and religious beliefs that prevent them from considering alternatives to caring for their loved ones, alternatives besides themselves. So that's a knowledge deficit as well. Some don't take care of themselves. They don't recognize or that they have the ability or responsibility to take care of themselves. So that's another factor as well. So the knowledge deficit and these cultural beliefs contribute to these people not seeking or not receiving the help some help that is available in the community, and not getting assistance from their loved ones as well. So reinforcing factors are what we examine as well. These factors determine what factors and what incentives are needed to encourage this population, to participate in healthier behaviors. So when you talk about reinforcing factors, we have to identify the internal and external rewards that caregivers would need to motivate them to utilize the resources that are available and to seek the care that they need to take care of their loved ones, take care of themselves in order to take care of their loved ones. So as caregivers, we must be sensitized, or as those who are teaching the caregivers, we had to be sensitized to a holistic way of providing care, a holistic way of thinking, in order to influence the caregivers as well. And as health education specialists, we are, and we're learning and trained to be sensitized to that and to understand the culture with which we were working. So as we did our research, we made sure that we understood who we were working with, the individuals that we were working with, and the factors and things that influenced them. So we had to identify the circumstances. Some had religious circumstances that prevented them from getting help, or from understanding that they needed help to help their loved ones. So we had to gain an understanding of the target population and be sensitive to their religious beliefs and such. When we talk about enabling factors, we talk about characteristics of the environment that facilitate action, and also any skill or resource that's required to attain a specific behavior. So the ability to get the things that they need. Some people had some areas of weakness, such as reading and understanding. Some people just had to be introduced to certain ideas. But just, addressing these enabling factors was important before we could move forward. Otherwise, our work would be in vain. So we addressed the enabling factors, some of which, following our enabling factors that were associated, that we determined that were associated with caring for individuals with Alzheimer's disease. One of them is an adequate number, in making sure there's an adequate number of geriatricians in Birmingham that specialize in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. That's an enabling factor, because if there's not enough people here, not enough geriatricians available, then they don't get the care that they need, and the caregivers definitely don't get the care that they need. Another was a lack of financial resources toward taking care of these individuals with Alzheimer's disease. And another was the caregivers' inadequate knowledge on how to locate and then utilize the resources that are available in the area. So once we're able to identify those enabling factors, then we were able to determine what kind of things we could do, what interventions we needed to put in place in order to overcome these predisposing and enabling factors. So when we move to intervention, we talk about we are able to work toward our intervention based on what we uncovered with our resources, with our secondary resources and primary resources from the enabling factors and the reinforcing factors. The intervention section deals with what we actually decided to do once we did our research and also did our pilot, as we'll talk about later. But our organization did go ahead and decide to hire 2 program assistants, an IT consultant as well, and some volunteers that we were going to have. We recruited our volunteers and interviewed them together and decided who we would bring on. They had to go through a very selective screening process, because we're working with older individuals and we had high standards. So the predisposing factors that set in our interventions in place was the need for more education on stress. We recognized that our caregivers needed more education on Alzheimer's disease, as well as stress management and techniques to reduce stress and depression as it relates for caring for those who had Alzheimer's disease. We recognize that the need to provide more resources, such as counseling and support for those individuals who are caring for people with Alzheimer's disease, and the need to provide more education on the disease itself, as well as I said, as well as the stress level that the caregivers are that they're under. So understanding that, we established an education program that we'll talk about a little bit later. But the need to, we talked about the need, and we recognize the need to provide more resources for respite care services also. Because earlier, as we mentioned, the people who were caring for the individuals many times had factors that were in the way of them utilizing these resources. So once we've overcome those factors, we provided information about respite care for the individuals and making these things more accessible for them. So we hope to empower our target population with the tools necessary to reduce stress in order to improve their overall health, and that in turn will improve the care that they give to their loved ones.